Hi there, it's Sunday, July 28th, and it's time for our Sunday Stroll for a behind-the-scenes look at what's growing at Sweet Earth Co. Okay, so in the front garden, over to the left, we have the last of the campanula and some dahlias. That was just, I had extra space there and definitely dahlia tubers to spare, so I just threw those in there. That is our most shady bed, which is why the campanula is in there, so I can extend the season a bit for it. More dahlias. These are cosmos. This shorter cosmo here is a new fan favorite. She is so cute. That's chocolate cosmo. The rest of the beds are pretty much filled with dahlias. Some celosia in there, but those were self-seeded from last season, and I just left them. There's some, actually some zinnias in the back, if you could see that. There you go. And then more zinnias here, which are starting to bud up. Now these have been pinched so they can branch out and give me multiple stems, and they are starting to flower. And then this row here is filled with lisianthus, and those are just starting to bloom. Pretty excited about these. I've tried some new colors this season, so let's see how that goes. And then this row here is the last of the snapdragons. They are cool season flowers, so now in the middle of the summer they start to peter out, but I do have new starts that we will be planting for fall production. Over in the veggie garden, which doesn't have a single vegetable growing in it, but had been historically the vegetable garden, and so we still call it that. But I've got this little corner here that I've let kind of go meadow wild, meadowscapey. It's got hydrangeas, which aren't normally found in meadows, but they look pretty here, and they're protected from deer. And amongst that, I have flowering oregano, verbena, Queen Anne's lace, and some dara, some daucus. So I like this little patch. And the rest, I've got some dahlias, of course, scabiosa, and some pink and purple Italian petunia. Now these were a first for us this season. They are tall petunias, not your standard or common trailing petunias for containers. And while pretty, I don't think I will be growing them again. They got a little unruly, they took a long time, they're very sticky to harvest, and the flower kind of falls off if you handle it too roughly, so not a good match for me. And of course, some more dahlias. Here's a little greenhouse, which at the moment does not have anything growing in it. It's just too hot in there right now, and it's mostly used over winter and in the early spring when we start seeding our trays. This is the overwintered dahlia patch, and as you can tell, these plants are much taller than the dahlias in the other fields, and they've already started producing. They're looking pretty good. The first blooms are not that great because they don't really like the heat and there is more bug pressure. But we feed our soil and our plants with molasses, which provides the carbohydrates, the sugars that the microbes in the soil need to make the nutrients available to the plants, and that the plants also need to process the nutrients and conduct their activities. We have found that feeding our soil and our plants with molasses makes for stronger plants that are better able to resist pest pressure and produce bigger, more beautiful blooms. And we test the sugar content of our plants using the bricks. It's a bricks method of testing the sugar content, and we use a refractometer to do that. We will go over that in another video. But these are looking good. In the backfield, this bed here has shorter dahlias because these were just put in this season. They were not overwintered. We keep adding to this overwintered patch. We have peonies planted in several areas. This is one patch here. This is the coral peonies, which are really quite beautiful. They're one of my new favorites. But the leaves and the foliage is great in bouquets, so we keep that going. It's also important to continue to water your peonies throughout the season, even though they're not blooming, because the tubers are still absorbing and producing energy and getting better and ready for next season's growth. We added a few rows outside to add more dahlias. And coming into the back garden here. So one half of the back garden is our meadow, which was actually the cold season or cool flowered patch. This had bulpurum, nigella, bachelor button, some poppies, and some larkspur. And you can see there's also some rudbeckia in there and some bouquet dill. Now these self-seeded and turned into a bit of a meadow, and we just let that go. You can tell that the bulpurum has dried out. That did not do well in this recent heat wave, but they will produce seed, which we collect, and also let self-seed as well. This has been a great year for the echinacea, or pink coneflower, and we use these in so many ways. We use them, of course, fresh for bouquets, either with the petals on or with the petals off. They make some great architectural interest in the bouquet. We also harvest the petals and the leaves for tea. And once divided, because every few years we divide these to add more and create more plants, the roots can be used as well. They're a great pollinator plant as well. I don't know if you can tell everything that's buzzing around in there. So let's go in. So these couple of rows here need some TLC. They've got some small plants growing in them, asters and scabiosa, the fama variety which is the perennial variety. So once I clean these up, you'll be better able to see that they're in there and growing fine. Here's an aster. We've got another row of zinnias here. These are looking beautiful. This is the Queen series, as well as the floret zinnias that we tried out this season. And most of these back here are floret. Some in here. We're loving these. And then more dahlias. And this patch, this row has some patchy garden phlox that we popped in here. So these will really come into their own next season. And there's some Joe Pye eupatorium back in the back there. And some roses. And we've just cleared this front part so that we can seed some cool season flowers like agrostemma that will bloom for us in the late fall. There's one more patch that I want to show you. But first, look at that, these beautiful butterflies. And the fields are just humming with pollinators. I wanted to show you the northern sea oats, the chesmanthium. These are my favorite grasses. It's a native grass, but it adds such movement and whimsy to bouquets and arrangements. I just love to use them. So we use them fresh, but we also dry them for dried bouquets, and they dry very nicely. So these will be harvested this week.